Hey everybody, how you doing? So over the last 7 years, the Astros have been one of baseball's best teams, if not the best team. Don't you bring up the trash cans? I don't want to hear it. But the Astros over the last 7 years, they've made it to 7 straight American League Championship Series, won a World Series just 2 years ago. Easily one of the most dominant runs here for a while. But waking up this morning, looking at the standings, we see a record of 6-14. What even the heck is that? We don't ever see the Astros with a record like that. They got swept last night for the third time already this season by the Braves. In the beginning of the season, they were swept by the Yankees in the first series, and then they got swept by the Royals. They got clobbered in the final 2 games of that series, and then again last night with the Braves. So in this video, I'm going to go over what I think is wrong with the Astros, what I think about the Astros moving forward, and yes, I'm going to go over some trade scenarios for the Astros if it ends up getting to that point. So let's get to it. Hey everyone, real quick, I just want to shout out today's sponsor, and that's BetUS. I'm looking at the game props. Not a whole lot of games on, but we got a couple of games on tonight, and one that catches my eye is the Marlins and the Cubs. You might be thinking, this is an easy win for the Cubs. The Marlins are terrible, but looking at the pitching matchup, you get Jameson Taillon going for the Cubs tonight, making his season debut. He wasn't very good last year, and he was dealing with back issues so far this year, so maybe that's not the safest pick for a guy to try and carry you to a win. And on the other side, you got AJ Puck. He's off to a tough start this year, but he looked good in spring training. I think he's due for a good start, so maybe this could be the night. So if I'm taking a look here, plus 143 for the money line. So if I threw down $50, that would win me $71.50. I think that's a pretty good value. So head on over to BetUS. There's a whole bunch of different ways to play. Again, not a whole lot of baseball going on today, but you got a whole bunch of other sports, right? Hockey, basketball going on right now. And there's also futures picks with baseball. You can do pennant winners. You can do World Series winners. Hey, we're talking Astros here. If you feel like the Astros are going to turn it around and you think they're going to go win a World Series, head on over, make a bet, go see what you can win. But as always, make sure you play responsibly. So let's head back to the video. Let's start off with the good. The Astros offense is still really solid. Second in WRC plus with a 126, only behind the Braves and their amazing offense. When it comes to runners in scoring position, they're middle of the road right now, 16th overall with a 104 WRC plus. I do expect that to get better. I'm not really worried about these bats. There's a lot of good bats in this lineup, but there's a few guys I want to point out. Most notably, Jose Abreu had a terrible season last year, and he's off to another bad start this year. 16 games, hitting under 100, slugging under 100, and on base of 158, WRC plus at a negative 22. This could end up being one of the worst signings in franchise history. I'm not sure what they do with Jose Abreu here. A couple other guys. Chas McCormick had a good season with the bat last year. He's off to a slow start through 15 games, only hitting 216 with a 275 slugging. And then there's Alex Bregman. He is heating up a bit lately, but still the numbers that they could definitely be improved here. 17 games, only slugging 328. He's still getting on base at 333. That's not bad, but he is doing a bit better lately, so I'm not really worried about him. But overall, the offense, here, I like this offense, right? You got a lot of guys that are hitting well. Jose Altuve, he's hitting well. Yordan Alvarez, we know what he can do. Kyle Tucker, his bats finally come around after a slow start through a couple of games there. Jeremy Pena's hitting well. Diaz, these guys are all hitting well. So I'm not worried about this lineup, but I am worried about the pitching. Let's go focus on that. When it comes to the starting pitching, it's been a mess so far this year. 20th overall in Fangraph WAR. When it comes to FIP, they're only 24th overall with a 4.26. And when it comes to ERA, a 5.05, 27th in Major League Baseball as of right now. That is no bueno. Now, there are a couple of bright spots. Ronel Blanco, this guy seems like he's throwing a no-hitter every time he goes out there. He's been a sensation so far this year. ERA at a 0.86, FIP at a 2.96. Very solid start to the year for him. Christian Javier, he looks a lot better than he did last year. But other than that, not really a whole lot going on here for the Astros. Hunter Brown, he's having a really tough start so far this year. ERA over a 10. JP France, he was pretty solid for the most part last year. ERA over a 7, but they're also having health issues. Remember, Framber Valdez had something going on with the elbow as of just a couple of days ago. He's been playing catch. So I would imagine he's going to be back at some point within the next month or two. So, but still, that's a big loss for them. That's a guy that's been giving them a lot of innings over the last several years. And then Justin Verlander, he will be coming back this week. He'll be making his debut against the Nationals at the end of this week. But still, Verlander, he's been a big piece for them. He went back to the Astros last year, ended up doing really well down the stretch. But missing these two guys, and that's a lot of innings that you're losing. So they're having to rely on, some of these guys like Spencer Arrighetti. I mean, he's just not been effective coming up from the minor leagues. And one more guy I want to mention is Lance McCullers Jr. He missed all of 2023 with forearm issues. He's starting to throw again. He should be back at some point this year, but he's always going to be a question mark for me considering all of the health issues that he's had. They called up Blair Henley to make a start, but he was only able to record one out. He got absolutely rocked. They did call up Forrest Whitley recently to make an appearance, but he got sent back down after that. This is a guy, former top pitching prospect, but ended up running into a lot of injuries. He just had a lot of struggles in the minor leagues. He's still trying to find his way, so I wonder how much they turn to him moving forward. But pretty much the point here is they lack a lot of depth in the organization. You got Javier and Blanco pitching well, but they need more. They need to get healthier. They need Framber Valdez back. They need Verlander back. And it would be nice if they can get some more out of these young guys in the minors, but that's a big ask. But it's not just the starting pitching, it's the bullpen as well. Let's go talk about it. Coming into the year, it was looking like a strength for the Astros was going to be the back end of the bullpen, but they have not produced so far. 25th in Fangraph WAR so far with a negative 0.3, ERA at a 5.47, FIP at a 4.49. These are not good numbers. This is shocking to me because you got some talent back here. You brought in Josh Hader on a big contract in the offseason, and so far these numbers are not looking great over 10 games. ERA at an 8.31. Now, the FIP is more promising, 2.85 on the FIP, so I do expect his ERA to get better over time. He's still striking out a lot of guys. The walks are a little high, over 4 per 9, but a home run per 9. So Hader, he's got to figure this out a bit more back there. Ryan Presley was the closer. Hader took over that, and he just doesn't seem like he's adjusting well to that role. ERA almost at a 10, a 9.45. FIP is a little better at 3.95, but he's walking a lot of guys, over 5 walks per 9. Brian Abreu, this is a guy who I've really enjoyed over the last couple of years, but he's off to a tough start. ERA at a 6, FIP at a 7.87. He's walking a lot of guys, giving up home runs. So Brian Abreu, these three guys just have not figured it out. Rafael Montero, this is a guy who had a tough year last year. He's having a bit of a better year so far, 1.80 ERA, but that FIP is at a 5. So, I don't know. The bullpen is just not really doing well as a whole, and it's a bit concerning because this was supposed to be a strength of this team. So, I'm sure with a bit more time, they're going to get it together, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. And one more thing I want to bring up that I mentioned earlier is the farm system. Coming into this year, Baseball America only ranked them 29th overall. They've traded some good prospects over the last couple of years. They got rid of a lot for Justin Verlander last year. Their only top 100 prospect as of right now is Jacob Melton, but there's not a lot of impact pitching they can call up. Now, Spencer Arrighetti, who I mentioned earlier, the number 3 prospect, he got called up, but he just hasn't really been able to do much. You have a couple other interesting pieces, like AJ Bluebaugh has some pretty good stuff, but not really sure what you're going to be able to get out of him if you call him up. You got guys like Colton Gordon, you got Rhett Kuba, but these are guys that are more like back-end starters for their ceilings, maybe swingman kind of guys, so maybe they can come up and give you some innings, but other than that, there's not really a lot of, impact pitching that they can call up right now to help them out. So I know there's probably some people watching this, especially Astros fans, rolling their eyes thinking it's way too soon to be talking about this. It's way too early. It's not a big deal. They'll be fine. But remember last year, the Cardinals and the White Sox, they got off to tough starts, and we all saw what happened with them eventually. And looking at the schedule, I wouldn't say it's the easiest of schedules moving forward. Now, you got a couple of favorable matchups with the Nationals and the Rockies, but you got a tough series with the Cubs next week. Then you got the Guardians going into May. They've looked pretty good so far this year. The Mariners, sure, slow start, but good pitching. Going to Yankee Stadium. We all saw what happened in the beginning of the season with the Yankees, and they're looking good too. The Tigers, they got talent there. The Oakland A's, they're not rolling over for anyone. They're playing a lot better than what people thought. Then you got a tough matchup with the Brewers, the Angels. Mike Trout is looking healthy. Reed Detmers is looking great. So then the A's again, the Mariners again. So, yeah, they could definitely win a lot of these games. But let's say they're still under 500 heading into June. That's when rumors start to heat up. Now, with the Astros, I do think they're going to hold out until the very last possible moment, because this is a team that wants to win. They want to try and win championships. So, but you also have to think about the future of the organization too. Listen, if they're, under 500 going into July, or maybe hovering around it, you got to think they got to be thinking about maybe making some moves that could get them some prospects back for the future, because, yeah, they've made a great run here over the last several years, but they got to eventually start looking to the future. So I'm going to come up here with a couple of trades that could get them some prospects if they are out of it and they decide they want to sell. So let's go take a look at a couple ideas. Let's start off with Framber Valdez. If he's healthy, he won't be cheap. He has a good track record. He has an extra year of control before he hits free agency, and he would be a hot commodity, so that would drive up the price in itself. But a team that comes to mind that I think would be a good fit, not just because they would be a good fit on paper, but they have the prospects to be able to get a deal done, and that would be the San Diego Padres, who made a big trade for Dylan Cease in the offseason, but Yu Darvish is dealing with some health issues right now. He's not getting any younger. Joe Musgrove, he's dealt with stuff in the past, so who knows what he's going to be looking like durability-wise at the deadline. So that could be very beneficial for the Padres to be able to add a guy like Valdez to this rotation. Could you imagine a rotation of Cease, Valdez, Musgrove, Darvish, and then Michael King rounding out the back? I mean, what a strong rotation that would be down the stretch. But like I said, I think the Padres have the prospects to get a deal done, and one guy that comes to mind is Dylan Lesko. He came up in the Dylan Cease talks, and I definitely think he could come up in these talks as well. High draft pick not too long ago. Did have Tommy John after that, but he's back now. He's looking healthy. This could be a future ace for the Astros. A couple other pieces involved here. Graham Pauley, if Bregman ends up going elsewhere, this could be an option for third base down the road. And then you got an athletic outfield prospect in Dylan Head. It doesn't have to be these guys. You could switch guys in and out. They have a couple of prospects here. Maybe instead of Dylan Lesko, you could do someone like Robbie Snelling, maybe switch out Graham Pauley, Dylan Head for some other guys. Let me know some ideas down below in the comments if you think these two teams could be good trade partners. But Valdez on the Padres, I think would be great. Next up, let's talk about Ryan Presley. I mentioned him earlier and how he's off to a tough start this year, but he has a great track record. I do think he's going to come around. And yeah, that ERA looks ugly at a 9.45, but that FIP looks a lot better at 3.95. Still showing good strikeout numbers, 13.5 so far overall. He's been excellent over the last several years. I think he's going to come around, and if he's available, he'll be a very hot commodity. Teams are always looking to improve their bullpen at the deadline. And a team that comes to mind that I think would be interested would be the Yankees. Remember, they just lost Loaisaga not too long ago. They were expecting a big bounce back year from him this year, but he's going to be out for the year. That could be a really nice piece to back up Clay Holmes in that bullpen. I would like that. It kind of reminds me of the Scott Efros trade a couple of years ago, so I don't think it would take too much. But in this deal, Presley going to the Yankees and going back to the Astros would be Brock Selvage. That's their number 10 prospect on Pipeline as of right now. A lefty with a good mix of pitches, fastball, slider, cutter. Needs to improve that changeup a little bit, but that would be a good depth piece for the Astros to pick up in this deal. So Ryan Presley for the Yankees, why not? And last but not least, let's talk about Alex Bregman. I mentioned him earlier, how that bat is starting to come around, but we all know what Bregman can do. He has a great track record. This would be a guy that would improve a lot of lineups out there. But one team that comes to mind would be the Detroit Tigers. Now, I know they have Gio Urshela at third, but with Urshela, he has versatility. He can move around. He can play some other positions as well. So Bregman, he would definitely be an upgrade at third base offensively here. And the Tigers could definitely use it. As of right now, 27th in WRC Plus to start off the year. They definitely could use some more offense. And someone like Bregman, who's won championships, has a lot of playoff experience, he would be great for this Tigers team. And he would be with his old manager, I'm just saying. So the trade that I came up with is Bregman going to the Tigers, and then back to the Astros, a couple of prospects, Kevin McGonigal and Troy Melton. Now, some of you might be thinking, why is Bregman's value so low? Well, you got to think here, he would only be a rental for half a season because he's a free agent after this year, and he has a big salary, so that's going to bring the value down. So it's not going to cost you a whole lot in terms of prospects to get him, but I have a couple of solid prospects going back to the Astros here. Most notably, Kevin McGonigal, a guy who makes a ton of contact. He has an advanced approach at the plate, makes good decisions at the plate, very good plate discipline. Not a whole lot of power from Kevin McGonigal, but I think this would be a great add for the Astros in their system. As of right now, he's the number 6 prospect. I also have the number 11 prospect in Troy Melton, a guy that has good mix of pitches, good size, 6'4", 210. So a guy with good velocity. That would be another good pitching prospect to add for this system. So let me know what you think down below, Astros fans especially. How are you feeling right now about the Astros? Do you think they should just sell? Or what do you think? Let me know. If they do sell, let me know some ideas for some trades down below in the comments. I would love to hear your ideas. But that's all I have for right now, everyone. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.